You know, sometimes when you look into the history of dog breeds, the stories you find are, well, they're way more complicated and kind of wild than you'd ever expect.
Oh, absolutely. And the people involved. Often just as colorful as the dogs themselves.
Exactly. What looks simple on the surface often has all these layers once you dig into the actual source material.
Yeah, you really got to look closely.
And that's exactly what we're doing today. We're going deep on a really, really significant dog, Tombstone.
And our main source here is Don Mayfield himself, basically giving a self-interview about his time in the American Pit Bull Terrier world.
You're using bits from a YouTube transcript, specifically where Mayfield answers questions about, key moments.
So the mission, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, our mission for this deep dive is pretty straightforward. We want to get a handle on Tombstone's early history, his importance.
How Mayfield actually got him.
Right, and dig into the whole context around that big decision matching him against Bully Son Jr.
Okay, so let's start there. Bill Reynolds from American Dog Times, he asks Mayfield, what did you see in that short role, like 5 minutes maybe, that made you say, okay, let's match him with Bully Son Jr.?
That's a great place to jump in because it sets up Tombstone's whole reputation later on as this, historically important dog.
Right. Mayfield makes it clear that Tombstone left a mark, an impression that lasted.
Definitely. And it all goes back to his breeding. Mayfield says he was bred by Don Maloney.
Uh-huh. And Maloney was working pretty closely with Earl Tudor back then.
And Earl Tudor, for anyone maybe not super familiar, he's a huge name in this history, right?
Oh, massive. Foundational figure, known for developing these bloodlines with very specific traits, especially gameness, that tenacity.
So Tombstone was out of a female named Toot Toot.
Yeah, and Toot Toot herself came from Tudor Spike and Black Widow.
Black Widow.
Yes.
She had her own story too, didn't she?
Yeah.
Started with Maurice Carver, but came from Tudor's yard originally.
Right, went through a couple of hands, then ended up back with Tudor. And Tudor bred her to Spike.
So you see all these key names already woven together.
Exactly. And here's where it gets, well, a little murky. Maloney and Tudor, they had a deal with litters.
Uh-huh. Share the pups, Earl sells some.
The idea was the lines would always trace back to Tudor's stock.
But here's the twist. Tombstone's exact breeding is kind of a mystery.
Yeah. When Maloney sold him as a puppy to Ron Petronelli, the papers apparently said he was from, a crossbred sire and a red female called Gina.
But Mayfield didn't buy that.
No, he strongly suspected Tombstone was actually pure Tudor stuff, from those dogs Maloney had.
And Maloney kept it secret from Earl Tudor.
That's what Mayfield thought, which, it says a lot about how valuable certain bloodlines were, right? And maybe being afraid someone else would jump on your success.
Makes you wonder how many other important dogs might have kind of hidden origins.
And how that shaped things. Mayfield mentioned if Tudor had found out, it would have been a huge falling out.
Wow. So right from the start, there's this layer of intrigue around this really significant dog.
Definitely shows how guarded people could be about breeding and just how much weight those specific lines carried.
Okay, so Tombstone goes to Ron Petronelli up in Rhode Island. And Mayfield says Petronelli kept him kind of heavy.
Yeah, raised him in a cooler place, kept him heavier. He was a pretty big dog anyway.
There was even a match planned that got called off. Something about his lungs.
Yeah, concerns about his wind, apparently. So even early on, people were noticing things about his physical state.
And Petronelli himself, Mayfield mentions he had a reputation for conditioning his dogs really hard.
Right, known for tough keeps.
Which kind of sets things up for Mayfield getting involved. He says he was looking for a bigger dog around that.
Mm-hmm. And Petronelli also had this other dog, Sue Boy, bred by Maurice Carver, 2 wins.
Right, and this is where Mayfield's own connections came in handy.
Yeah, he already had Sue Boy's sister, bought her from Jim Royce down in San Antonio, who was a buddy of Maurice Carver's.
See, it's all connected. So Mayfield thinks, okay, maybe a trade.
Exactly. He offers Sue Boy's sister for Tombstone.
And Petronelli went for it.
Yep. Mayfield said Petronelli was really keen on getting that sister, which maybe suggests Tombstone, despite his potential, wasn't seen as this huge, unique asset by everyone just yet.
So the trade happens. Tombstone arrives with Mayfield. Still pretty heavy, right? Like 60, 70 pounds?
Yeah, pretty hefty. But Mayfield says he got him into shape fairly quickly.
And then that roll, the crucial one.
Yeah, the turning point. Mayfield first says maybe 10 minutes, but then corrects himself, thinks it was probably closer to 5.
5 minutes. Against a big, rough dog.
Yeah. And in that super short time, Tombstone apparently showed just incredible gameness and ability.
Okay, let's pause there. Gameness, for anyone listening who might not know the term in this context, what does that really mean?
Good question. Gameness here is about the dog's inner drive, that refusal to quit, pushing through pain, adversity, continuing the task. It's courage, determination, a really core trait valued in this history.
Got it. So it's about heart, essentially.
Yeah.
And Mayfield saw that in Tombstone immediately.
Oh, absolutely. He was blown away. Said Tombstone showed everything he looked for, the gameness, the physical tools, good build, good mouth, even temperament, all in just those few minutes.
So impressed, he stopped the roll right away.
Yeah, pulled him, didn't want to risk any injury. He'd seen enough to know what he had.
That speaks volumes about Mayfield's eye for a dog, being able to see that so fast.
Definitely. And right after that, he's on the phone to Bobby Hall, setting up the match with Bully Sun Jr. at 55 pounds.
Okay, the match. Let's picture the scene. Red River Show, September 29th, 1973, Southwest Convention. And the location. Sound pretty unique.
Oh, yeah. Outdoors, up on a cliff overlooking the Red River. They had seats, lights, even put up a rope around the edge so nobody accidentally went over.
Wow, and it was a big deal.
Huge. Mayfield says over 400 people came from all over the U.S., 12 matches scheduled.
And the plan was to just keep going till they were all done. Not like some shows that break overnight.
Run till completion. Shows you the dedication, the intensity of the scene back then.
So, the first match that night, Norman Houghton's Butcher Boy, 3 wins, conditioned by Carver against Sampson,
Right.
owned by Pat Perry and Jim Stinson, 1 win, at 57 pounds.
Yeah, and Mayfield makes a point about these dogs, right? Compares them to Tombstone, Alligator. These were big, serious dogs for that time.
And the fight sounds like it was just epic. 2 tanks meeting, Mayfield called it.
Butcher Boy started strong, but then Sampson, even though he was apparently dehydrated before the fight,
Dehydrated.
yeah, lost almost 3 pounds in the hours leading up. He was underweight, the underdog, but he just rallied after Butcher Boy seemed to fade.
Wow. Both dogs just showing insane gameness, scratching back over and over.
Absolutely. But in the end, after an hour and 25 minutes, Sampson went down. Showed dead game, as they say.
And again, those Tudor connections in the breeding room.
Yep. Sampson came from Tudor lines. Butcher Boy's background traced back there, too. Just shows Tudor's shadow looming large over everything.
Okay, so that intense first match finishes. Now the tension builds for Tombstone's match. Mayfield and Bobby Hall are weighing Tombstone in the truck.
Waiting for Bully Sun Jr.'s weigh-in. But then things get really weird in the pit area.
Yeah, what happened there? Some kind of argument?
A dispute between a Jim Lessons and a Benny Clayton.
Yeah.
Then Jim Hustleton offers to take care of Sampson, the dog that just lost.
Okay.
But his offer gets refused. And then Hustleton apparently makes some kind of threat mentioning Floyd Merriman's gun.
Whoa, a gun threat.
Yeah. And someone tells Benny Clayton about the threat. Now, Mayfield notes Clayton had been drinking.
Oh, boy.
So Clayton pulls out his gun.
No way.
Yeah. Luiching jumps in, tries to get the gun away from him. And then the struggle, the gun goes off, hits Jill Hustleton in the knee.
Oh, my God. Chaos, I imagine.
Total chaos. Mayfield said everyone just scattered. People running everywhere.
Did they stop the show?
Well, Mayfield and Bobby Hall paused what they were doing for a bit, but then just got back to prepping Tombstone. Mayfield even watched Bully Sun Jr. before his dog went in.
While people are fleeing down the cliffs.
Yeah, apparently some people literally ran down the cliffs to get away after the gunshot. Just a wild, charged atmosphere.
Unbelievable. So before they actually get Tombstone into the pit for the match,
Yeah.
Mayfield talks about his presence, right? Even just on the chain.
Yeah, he makes a point of this. Describes Tombstone as one of those rare dogs you could just look at on the chain and know he was dead game.
Like you could just see it in him.
Exactly. That
Right.
intense determination, that willingness. Mayfield emphasizes very few dogs actually project that visually.
And it was obvious, Mayfield says, this is a dog that you'd literally have to kill to stop him.
A powerful image. And right there, the stage is finally set. Bully Sun Jr. versus Tombstone.
Okay, so let's recap this deep dive. We've hit on the mystery around Tombstone's breeding.
His early life with Petronelli, the tough conditioning.
Mayfield spotting his potential in that incredibly short role and making that quick trade.
Right, and then that absolutely crazy, dramatic scene right before his big match at the Red River Show.
It really paints a picture of a fascinating, maybe even volatile time in dog history, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. And the personalities are just something else.
Definitely larger than life.
You know, it makes you think, doesn't it? How just a quick look, those few minutes Mayfield had with Tombstone in that role, how sometimes a tiny observation can tell you so much about potential, about character.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Makes you wonder, what other small moments, maybe seemingly insignificant things in history, not just with dogs, but anywhere, ended up having these huge, unexpected consequences down the line?
That's a really interesting thought to chew on. Definitely something to think about. If you're interested in digging deeper into these bloodlines, these figures, believe me, there are plenty more stories out there.
For sure.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.